What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of On the Break. We have a good one coming to you. I hope everyone is having a great week so far. We really appreciate everyone for tuning in. If you enjoy this video, go on and hit that like button and comment down below. And if you are new, subscribe to the YouTube channel so that you don't miss any basketball content like this. If you like podcasts, then go check out our podcast feed on Spotify under On the Break with Trevor and Trevon Mayo. But with that being said, let's get into some basketball. All right, Trevon. So the New York Knicks have been playing very well over the past few games, and they have had some injuries, but they're still continuing to fight for one of those top spots in the Eastern Conference. But they've been playing very well. Jalen Brunson just got his first All-Star nod. There's a lot of really good things going on in New York City with the Knicks. So, what are your thoughts on the New York Knicks, and can they make it to the conference finals this year?
Yeah, so I had a recent thought about this actually. Just with how things are going in the Eastern Conference right now, I think as we've mentioned before, Boston is clear cut the number one or should be the favorites in the Eastern Conference right now. Right now is I think about a week out before the deadline. So anything can shake up and happen at this moment in time. But after that, I think it's a real conversation to have about the New York Knicks, especially with this 9-game streak that they had going into last night's game on February 3rd, Saturday against the Lakers, where their streak was finally snapped. I don't think that was a bad loss by any means. And I think you should take away from that streak more of those 9 wins straight rather than that loss against the Lakers. And I think what you saw from them was a lot of contribution from multiple guys. I think you saw Jalen Brunson playing very well. And I think you're seeing this team really come together and really develop an identity on both ends of the ball. They know who they are, they know their role. Everybody's contributing, everybody's willing to contribute, play hard. We know that's never been an issue with Tom Thibodeau teams. And I think this year is a little bit different than recent years because I think it is a lot more open in the Eastern Conference than it was a year ago or recent years. And this group has been together already a full season. They made great additions. OG Anunoby was a great addition. And I think that this team is really constructed in a way that they can succeed in the Eastern Conference. And I think Eastern Conference Finals is very attainable for this team. Not to say that they'll beat a team like the Celtics, who we expect to be there. Anything can happen as we see every postseason. But I think it's not out of the question that they can be that team competing for the Eastern Conference crown. And I think they've been showing it to us for the last 2 weeks of basketball.
Yeah, Trevon, you made some great points. And what I really like about the New York Knicks is that we've always known that they've been a really good defensive team, even, last year and previous years under Tom Thibodeau. That team just reflects his personality and how he likes to play basketball. It's always been tough nosed, physical, defensive oriented teams, right? Even going back to the Chicago Bulls teams. And this New York Knicks team on the defensive end, they're great. OG Anunoby and Dante DiVincenzo have been great together as a tandem in terms of point of attack defense and also on back end defenses and all that stuff. They're one of the top teams in terms of opponent field goal percentage. So on defense, they've always been a really good defensive team under Thibodeau, but this addition of Dante DiVincenzo and OG Anunoby have done a really good job in enhancing that effect on that end. And even with the loss of Mitchell Robertson, they don't protect the rim as much, but they're still able to hold up on that end of the floor. So what makes this team really, really good right now is they also are really efficient on the offensive end. Right now, they are missing Julius Randle, who is averaging really good numbers right now at this point in the season. OG Anunoby is like a 50, 40, 90 guy, or pretty much that. I don't know his exact numbers, but he's really close to a 50, 40, 90 guy. Dante DiVincenzo is one of the best 3-and-D guards in the league. So he's producing on the offensive end. And Jalen Brunson has continued to show us why he is a star in this league. This is his first year becoming an all-star, and he just continues to get better. So they've always been really good on the defensive end, but now this year they have the offense to kind of back it up. And right now they are missing Julius Randle while he's out with a dislocated shoulder. OG Anunoby has missed some time recently, and like I mentioned before, Mitchell Robinson has been out. But once they are able to get healthy, I think that they can continue this streak moving forward. And I think that they have a really good shot at making it to the conference finals this year. So I think they're a team not many teams want to see, especially when it comes to playoff time, because of just how hard they play and how physical they are on the defensive end. And now you add that offense to pair with the defense, it just makes this team a very dangerous team, especially moving into the postseason.
Yeah, I just think that trade with Barrett and getting Ananobi in return, I think that just pretty much slotted a lot of players better. I think the type of game that RJ Barrett liked to play, it was not the best fit for this roster that you have. And I think adding a guy like Ananobi, who is very efficient, shooting catch and shoot threes and being in the catch and shoot situations, playing off of a Brunson, which is more natural for him rather than a Barrett who was better with the ball in his hands, trying to get downhill and create that pressure on the rim and not as comfortable playing off the ball. I think that just opened up a whole different avenue of offense for this team, which was probably the thing you were more concerned about whenever you were looking at this New York Knicks team. Defense was never really an issue because we know that's Thibodeau's specialty. And I just think that unlocks this team with how hard they play in the regular season, throughout the whole regular season, and I think that can carry over into the playoffs. I really thought that they had a good shot at making it to the conference finals last year, and they just ran into a hot Miami Heat team. I think the way that crunch time was executed down the stretch of those games was one of the things that you really looked at. And I think they had chances to really win those games. So they have stuff to build on. They have experience being together in the playoff situation. They got just as far last year. If we're talking about Eastern Conference Finals, they were one round away. They fell a couple games short. And right now, this is looking like a much improved team. And all the guys that you mentioned, they go far beyond Brunson and Randall. DiVincenzo, his time last year in Golden State, I think he was pretty productive for that squad. He was most outstanding player in college, winning, I believe he got two of those Villanova championships. He's a very seasoned player that's
Yep.
experienced. He used all 4 years of college, and I think you're seeing that maturity right away impact this team. Josh Hart is another guy that anybody would want on their team, and you're seeing him have impact on winning. That's another Villanova guy. And the loss of Mitchell Robinson, I think you're seeing contributions from those bigs that are backing him up. I like the minutes that Precious Achiuwa has given this team. And I just think there's a lot of reasons to really believe in this squad more so than you would have at the beginning of the season and compared to last year. Once again, because they're playing so well, because they have their main guys, because they know their roles, and also because of the situation that you find in the Eastern Conference for those teams after the Boston Celtics. And to be honest, even if they were to match up against the Boston Celtics, I think even going back to last regular season, the Knicks always played the Celtics pretty well in those games.
Yeah,
I think that
they
their
did. Yeah.
physicality, yeah, I believe that their physicality is something that can match up pretty good against the Boston Celtics, even though we look at Boston and we just see a lot of big guards, big wings. Jalen Brunson, I don't think they have a player shorter than 6'5", and that's going down to Drew Holiday, their point guard. He's physical. He knows how to play both ends of the ball. He's a disruptor on defense as well, a plus player on offense. Derek White, pretty much the same thing. We know that dynamic duo between Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Kristaps Porzingis has unlocked another level of offense for this team. And then you just have Al Horford and other guys that have been with this team for so long and know how to play off each other. But I think the Knicks are a team that can put Boston in uncomfortable situations, especially if they're able to get late into the game where it's a lot of crunch time, crucial moments. We've seen Boston fall short time and time again in those situations. And we're seeing the Knicks really take advantage of situations like that. And I think they're up to beat anybody. I probably would lean Boston, but we've seen teams be able to put themselves in positions to be able to close out against the Celtics in playoff situations. And I think the Knicks are definitely one of those teams, and you have to take them seriously, being able to make it out of the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, and you talked about how in crunch time situations, the New York Knicks usually do very well. I think a lot of that has to do with Jalen Brunson, just how he's able to run the offense and make decisions in those split seconds that ultimately help his team win games. And again, first time All-Star this year, well deserved. A lot of people have been I wouldn't say necessarily overlooking him, but kind of putting him into that second tier of players. And I think he has just shown how good of a player he is and how
Yeah.
he can lead this New York Knicks team and how well he can put his stamp on the game and affect the game in a positive way. So for Jalen, I think he's definitely the head of that snake. But like you mentioned, there are also other players that just brings this whole team together. We already mentioned Dante DiVincenzo and Julius Randle and Josh Hart and players like that. And there's a whole list more. I definitely want to shout out Deuce McBride because we had talked about trading away Emmanuel quickly to bring in OG Anunoby, but mainly we talked about how we didn't necessarily like losing the production you got off the bench from Emmanuel quickly, right? But Deuce McBride has kind of helped patch that up. He's produced very well coming off the bench in those minutes that he's gotten. And I think that is something that's really good for this New York Knicks team, especially moving forward. But there's just a lot of players on this Knicks team. If they are able to get healthy, I think that they are definitely in play for the conference finals. And maybe, like you said, anything can happen. If they make it to the conference finals, they might make it to the NBA finals. Who knows? Their style of play, if they're able to keep this up into the playoffs, and like I said, again, if they're healthy, then I think it's a style that can win once you get to these tough series in the playoffs, one possession games. They are a team that you should definitely look out for. And I'm looking forward to seeing how they continue to move forward into the rest of the season. But first, they got to get healthy. They got to get Julius Randle back, OG Anunoby. They got to get everyone healthy first.